Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our CompTIA Plus, CompTIA Security Plus certification virtual class, and this is our fourth session. Here we'll be learning about conducting security assessment, which comes into several topics. The first topic is about identifying vulnerabilities. The second topic is about assessing or assess vulnerabilities. Then finally implement penetration testing. For some of us, conducting security assessment is a very, I would say, interesting topic, because here you will learn several, I would say, technical skills that are needed to conduct our security assessment. Yeah. So without further delay, let's continue with the first topic. Yeah. So we'll start with the host vulnerabilities. Identifying vulnerabilities could include the identification of host vulnerabilities. Your operating system, your platform, can directly affect or affected by host vulnerabilities. Yeah. So configuring your operating system or platform properly is very crucial to make sure that we can actually maintain our hosts against those vulnerabilities. So of course, we will need to do the assessment to find out what are the vulnerabilities being, I would say, identified or being on our host machines. Yeah. So some of the host vulnerabilities are related to default configurations, such as services running, like for example, some hosts like servers, they are specifically set or pre-configured to open only specific ports. For example, like when you have a web server or web servers, they need to be configured that will only allow them to communicate through, let's say, port 80, and 443, which is HTTPS, right? So based on the server's role or the role of the servers, we will need to make sure that the services running are those authorized services, as well as program installed on the machine. Yeah. So default configuration would be our one of our priority. Yeah. We need to make sure that we have set our servers based on the default configuration best practices, and we need to make sure that the vulnerabilities related to default configuration, such as default username and password, will not be left or will not be the one of our, I would say, vulnerabilities that should not be actually there. Yeah. So sometimes custom configuration are very crucial. Yeah. So just to make sure that the attacker will not be able to exploit those vulnerabilities. Yeah. For example, here, failing to disable telnet that can lead to man-in-the-middle attack. That would be the example of the host vulnerability. Okay, now let's have a look at some of the software vulnerabilities, yeah, such as this 0-day, exploited before vulnerability is publicly known. Effects often are often magnified and longer lasting. So researchers sometimes, or most of the times, they are trying to find 0-day that might affect a particular product or application. So when there's no patch for the vulnerabilities or vulnerability being found, that would be considered as 0-day. Yeah. Then the second one is the improper input handling. This is just an example, like, you know, the SQL injection, cross-site scripting. These are the vulnerability that could lead to unauthorized access, privilege escalation, denial of service, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So namely, you know, you can name those like, you know, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, you know, LDAP injection, command injection, and so on and so forth. That was actually caused by improper input handling or improper sanitation. Yeah. And the third one is the improper error handling, which normally gives the verbose error that might, you know, what do you call this, cause instability, or even, you know, provide the attackers with more information. The other vulnerability is known as resource exhaustion. Yeah, exhaustion. Yeah. So software does not restrict access to resources, and too much resource consumption lead to crashes. Yeah. This might lead also to denial of service attack. The other one is race condition, when the software may crash. Yeah. Memory leakage, also part of the memory vulnerabilities, like you can find about this memory leakage, buffer overflow, integer overflow, pointer dereference, DLL injection, and so on. Yeah. So let me just give you an example of a improper error handling, as well as improper input handling. Yeah. So let me open up my Google. I'll give you a new share. Okay, can you see my Chrome open? Let me know from your, okay, good. Thanks, Ian. Yeah. So, okay, so for example here, this is just to give you an example of how a particular improper error handling happened, and would also allow the attacker to actually, you know, get more information about the back-end technologies or servers they're using. So for example here, I will do the Googling using this index.php equals to ID, question mark ID equals to 1, yeah. So this is just a very simple SQL injection test that would also allow you to find SQL injection vulnerability, yeah, or even vulnerabilities. Yeah. So for example here, I would just select any. Yeah, you can just select any. For example, this ASFA members. Okay. So here, I could easily put an injection, yeah, like a single quote or 1 equals to 1, and we will press enter. Now notice that when I put the injection here, 1 single quote or 1 equals to 1, this is my injection. Yeah, this is my SQL injection test that I'm performing to see if the web application or website has no filtering. Yeah. So here we can see that this website, this asfaa.org website, or I would say the application, web application, failed to filter the input, which is actually here, the ID here. Yeah, so this is my input, and also failed to provide better, what do you call this, error message. So they do not have the improper I mean, proper error message. Yeah. So let me just open up my tool. Just give me a minute. Okay, so here, so this is the problem. This shows improper input. Improper, I would say, what was the, yeah, so improper input handling. Yeah, so let me just write down. And this is the improper input handling. Okay. Because the application or the website failed to filter the input. Okay. Now here we got the result that was actually caused by improper error handling. Yeah. Can you see my my screen again? Yeah. It was frozen because I was using a tool to zoom. But anyway, okay. So yeah. Anyway, so this one is the result of the improper error handling, and this one was actually the SQL injection test that would prove that they do not have a good sanitation or input filtering. Okay. Okay. So beside that, we also have other vulnerabilities, other type of vulnerabilities like encryption vulnerabilities. Some encryption solutions are insecure or become insecure over time. Like for example, the MD5 hash case, yeah, the case of MD5, where you can actually create the same, what do you call this, the same hash value when you're trying to actually create the value of two different files. So when you run MD5 tool, it's when you have two different files, MD5 should actually create two different unique values. But because of the vulnerabilities, this is called collision. Yeah, collision. Yeah, collision. You know, like a crash. So when you're trying to create two different hashes, two different unique hashes for two different files, it might create one single unique MD5 hash rather than two unique hashes. Yeah. Poor implementation also reveals weaknesses. For example, improperly configured digital certificate and even improper key management would also lead to vulnerabilities. Yeah, let me show you another one. Yeah. So here, let me show you the vulnerabilities related to encryption or cryptography, like the heartbleed. So the heartbleed is an example of the cryptographic related vulnerabilities. Yeah. Then the other one is the poodle. poodle attack here. So this is the Heartbleed bug, which is related to OpenSSL cryptographic software library vulnerability, while poodle is about the SSL version 3. They call it poodle, stands for padding Oracle on downgraded legacy encryption. Yep. And there's another one called, the Spectre. Yeah, Spectre vulnerability. Spectre and Meltdown. Yeah. So here we have Spectre as well as Meltdown. Yeah. So basically Meltdown and Spectre. So Heartbleed, poodle, Meltdown are the examples of cryptographic related vulnerabilities, or known as the encryption vulnerabilities. Okay, so now other type of vulnerabilities is this one, network architecture vulnerabilities, where network design may also reveal weaknesses. Attacker attempts to gain entry through these weaknesses. For example, web server not isolated from offline databases. Yeah, attacker can move from web server to the database or databases. For example, like you only have like a tier or one tier architecture, where you have web server as well as your database server on a single server, or when you do not have any isolation from the public. Yeah, so for example, you need to specifically set the DMZ to store web server, while your databases should be in a private network. Okay, then another example would be like a wireless network range not controlled for. So signal leaks beyond premises where the attacker can more easily gain access. An attacker might also attempt to initiate denial of service attack. Yeah. For example, here web server traffic isn't balanced, and attacker can congest the network with access or excess traffic, leading to delays and service outages. Yeah. Okay, everything is clear? Just answer me in your Telegram, please. Everything is clear? Okay, good. So I'll move to account vulnerabilities. This is another type of vulnerabilities found in the network. Like you can have like weak password, no complexity, no length requirement. So you just put like, password is password, or password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Or maybe because of password that do not expire, lack of multi-factor authentication, account placed in the wrong group, accounts granted more privileges than necessary. For example, like this guy he just need a read-only access or read-only privilege, but because of something or because of the misconfiguration, that guy has more privileges than he needs. Yeah. So for example, admin gave him the read-write access rather than read-only, or even like unused account that have not been disabled. So for this, make sure that when if you are the administrator, you should actually disable the unused accounts, because someone can just use them. Or even guest account that have not been disabled. Yeah. So let's have a look. Let me show you another example. Yeah. So top the 25 password. Yeah. So you see this one? This is an example of vulnerability that can be found related to password. Yeah, so this one. Okay. So 25 password in 2018 are an embarrass to humankind. Yeah, very weak password. See this one? 1234566 password, 123456789, blah blah blah. I love you, QWERTY, sunshine, admin, monkey, yeah, and something like this. This is just a combination of, you know, the when you press shift, you can press 12345, yeah, Charlie, Donald, password, QWERTY 123, and so on. Okay. So next, another type of vulnerability is this one, operations vulnerabilities, which is normally related to our day-to-day activities or jobs, like untrained user, which is normally related to human element. If they are not properly trained, if the users are not properly trained, they might, you know, do some mistakes. They might do something wrong. Yeah. Users are not equipped to spot social engineering or practice good computer security habits. Even like lack of planning for critical business processes, such as, you know, lack of vendor support for fixing issues, or maybe like embedded system that might be difficult to understand, and even something called system sprawl, which is normally related to inability to manage the system when it leads to compromise. Normally, it's very difficult to limit the personnel to oversee large number of systems. So for example, like if the system have, you know, or the system comes with different type of operating systems, you know, Linux, Windows, Mac. Undocumented assets also can be difficult to manage. So these are called system sprawl. Yeah. So if the users are not properly trained to manage the multi or mixed architecture, it might also cause problem to the organization. Yeah. Now we'll identify vulnerabilities later on. We can actually do some you know, discussion later. So you will need to identify common vulnerabilities that you can, you know, easily find and affect the business, specifically related to your organization where you work. The organization where you work with. Yeah. And now, next topic is about security assessment, which is the process of testing security controls to expose any weaknesses or gaps in your tools, technologies, services, and operations. And it would provide you with the info needed to mitigate vulnerabilities timely and efficiently. Now you can of course use active or even passive assessment. Even manual assessment method is also accepted. Yeah. And it will influence other characteristic as well. Yeah. The other type of assessment is known as vulnerability assessment. So when you talk about security assessment, any method you use, like for example, penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, risk assessment, or maybe like audit, those are the examples of security assessment. While vulnerability assessment itself is the evaluation of a system's security based on configuration state of the system. And remember that vulnerability assessment intend to be very technical. Yeah, so you need to make sure that you have the tools. And normally, vulnerability assessment would be accomplished through automated tools. Yeah, I'll be showing you some examples. Yeah. Now, vulnerability assessment will help you to identify misconfiguration, lack of security controls, and other vulnerabilities. Yeah. Techniques. In terms of techniques, security assessment has different techniques. Like you can do like a baseline review, yeah, to review the collection of configuration, which is known as the best baseline. You can use like a benchmark for other system in the organization. You can also download some industry recommended configuration, yeah, to help you to establish a baseline. Baseline here means the minimum security requirements that needs to be implemented. Like for example, when you need to implement security baseline on Cisco routers or switches, then you need to follow some or certain techniques. Like for example, you need to put password on your telnet, on your console, and so on and so forth. Another type of technique or technique that you can use for security assessment, like reviewing the code. Yeah, this is called code review or secure code review, which is conducted for all application in the development, and this should also be done with the automated tool, because looking at hundred thousands of lines of codes can be frustrating. Yeah. And then the other one is determining attack surface, yeah, by using the threat modeling, for example. Yeah. Attack surface is a combination of all areas that are exposed to the attacker. Yeah, which with this technique you can reduce the attack surface by identifying the threats and vulnerabilities as well as the attacks. As well as the attack as early as possible. Yeah. Let me check. Okay, so another technique is review security architecture. If you need to, by the way, if you need to leave any comments or anything, please use Telegram, because I don't want the screen to be disturbed. Yeah. Please chat on our Telegram. I already mentioned it to you. Okay. So the next one is review security architecture by evaluating security infrastructure model. Yeah. Determine if assets are properly secured and vulnerabilities addressed. Normally, we need to get some information about security architecture, the network topology, and how the what do you call this, connected hosts are were actually what do you call this, set or configured. Yeah. And the other one is review security design. You can do like you can do security review. Just give me a minute. Yeah, just to make sure that your the design is good and it should fulfill the organization's need. Yeah, done before solution is implemented. And if you're talking about the vulnerability assessment tools, a lot of different tools available. Yeah. Some are commercial tools. I would say commercial grade tool. Yeah. There you go. And some are open source. So for example, in Kali, if you're using Kali Linux, you can actually find a lot of free open source assessment tool. Yeah. And in terms of the types, we have vulnerability scanner, which is normally used to assess system, network, and application for weaknesses. We have port scanner, which assess current state of the ports on the network. Then we have protocol or packet analyzer, such as Wireshark, which assess traffic and what is revealed about content and protocol being used. Fingerprinting tool, yeah, normally to find out the information about the operating system and running services. We have network enumerator that will map logical structure of your network and even identify rogue system, unauthorized systems. We have password crackers that will allow you to recover secret password from stored or transmitted data, backup utilities, as well as honeypot that will allow you to catch the hacker. Yeah. Now let me show you some of the tools. Just give me a minute. Okay, so now this is Kali. Can you see my Kali? Let me know, please. Can you see my Kali? Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, so in Kali, you can see, yeah, I've done certain tests. Yeah, let me just show you. So when you talk about a port scanner, yeah, port scanner and map is an example of a port scanner. Yeah, so this is a port scanner. Yeah. So Nmap, I would really suggest that you use Nmap because this tool is, you know, actively maintained, yeah, by the creator. Beside that, you can also use, for example, HPing3. Yeah, this is also another port scanner as well as network scanner. So you can use HPing or Nmap. And for the vulnerability scanning, so when we talk about the vulnerability scanner, we got this, yeah, so port scanner, we have Nmap, we have HPing3. There are many others, yeah, many other type of, tools out there. For the vulnerability scanner, we could actually use Nessus. So for example, here I'm using Nessus, yeah. So Nessus is not free, but of course you can actually get the community edition, the essential version of the Nessus. I'm running Nessus Professional, and this is the examples of the result, yeah, where you can actually find, you know, vulnerabilities on several hosts, ranging from the critical vulnerability, high vulnerability, medium vulnerability, low, and information. So let's just click the critical, and it will show you a lot of different vulnerabilities. Yeah. Now, if you do not have any Nessus Professional license or licenses, I would suggest that you can use the you should try the Nessus Essential. So if you go to Nessus website, Tenable Security, you can find the essential version of the Nessus. So let me just show you. So if you use the browser, you can just type Nessus, yeah, and it will bring you to Nessus Essential. So you can just select Nessus Essential, yeah. So if you look at the Nessus, we have yeah, Tenable. Tenable has several versions of the Nessus, so you can actually get the Nessus Essential, which allows you to scan up to 16 IP addresses. Yeah, not more than that. If you are planning to buy, I would suggest that you buy this Nessus Professional, which allows you to scan unlimited IP addresses, while the Essential will only allow you to scan 16 IP addresses. The price, you can check the price. I forgot, but roughly around 3,000 something US dollar, yeah, for the Professional edition, yeah. Okay, so yeah, Nessus Professional is a commercial edition, where the Essential is totally free. Yeah, you can do the testing with your Nessus Essentials. Then when you're okay with the Nessus, then you can actually you know, continue to buy or purchase the license. Yeah, yeah. You can easily get a license. You can even buy Nessus online. Yeah. So this is just an example of my scan result. Yeah. Now, by the way, you can also use Nmap. Did you know that you can actually use Nmap to scan for a specific vulnerability, or even do the vulnerability scanning. Yeah. So what you can do if for nmap is that you can just use this one, for example, nmap -n to skip the name resolution. Then you can just type -- script equals to val and then your IP. For example, mine is 192.168.242.0/24, and you can put the result on as the XML file. Like for example, my scan result.xml. Yeah. Now, this command will allow you to scan the hosts for vulnerabilities. It will scan every single host here. /24 means that you're scanning from 242.1 up to 254, and the result will be stored in XML file. Yeah. So once you're done with the command, then the next thing to do is to use this command. This is my command. It was actually running earlier. So this command xsltproc, yeah, would allow you to convert the XML output of your previous previous command to XML file, HTML file. Then you can open up your Firefox to open up the result. Yeah, so this is the result, and voila, you have some examples of vulnerabilities here. So let me just zoom it. See this one? I found some vulnerabilities on my host, which is this one, 128, and one of the vulnerabilities are related to this one, FTP vs FTP backdoor. So it will give you something like this. Not only that, we can also see that it also gives you other type of vulnerabilities here. So DP-Hellman SSL DH parameter, which is related to this vulnerability, is related to cryptography, yeah, or encryption, as well as this one. Yeah. So nice, right? So if you do not have enough fund to actually get Nessus Professional, I would suggest that you get Nessus Essential, as well as use the Nmap. Yeah. So this was my command. Yeah. So here, I'm highlighting it. Yeah. Okay, so that's the vulnerability, what do you call this tool? Now, for protocol analyzer, you could actually use the Wireshark. Yeah, so you can use Wireshark as the protocol analyzer that will allow you to scan for or to capture, the traffic. Yeah, so when you do like ping, it will automatically gives you the result. Yeah, so you can use like just get me nmap, for example, -n. Your protocol analyzer will actually show you something like this. Yeah. Now, beside that, you could also use other tool for the protocol analyzer, yeah, called TCP dump. Yeah, I put the TCP dumps to listen to my ETH0 interface, and when you run some commands like ping, let's say 192.168.242. Let's say 128, it'll also give you something. Yeah. Wait, I think yeah. So TCP dump. Let me see. You will need to specify the interface. So interface ETH0. And if you want a full verbose, oops, sorry, must not allow me to exit from this one. So you can use the -v or VV. Yeah, so just put like here, -VV. Yeah, so when you do the scanning, or just earlier we did this one. should actually give you something. Yeah, see here, it shows me. Okay, so it shows me here on my Wireshark as well as my TCP dump. Okay. Now for the fingerprinting tool, you can still use Nmap. Yeah. So for the Nmap, if you want to do the fingerprinting, you can actually do something like this one, Nmap minus N minus SV minus O, then your IP, your target address. Yeah. So when you run this command with minus or dash SV and dash O, it will also do the, or provide you with the result, the version number or version name of the services running on your host as well as the operating system. This is called fingerprinting. Yeah. Okay. And for the password cracker, you can actually use something like this one. For the password cracker, you can use Hydra. Hydra is a very nice, online dictionary password cracker. Okay, as well as the Encrack. You can also use a tool called Encrack. Yeah, Encrack is also the online dictionary password cracking tool. Yeah. Now, if you want to do the offline password cracking tool, if you want to do the offline password cracking attack, you should not use Hydra and Encrack. You should actually use something like the John. Yeah. So John the Reaper, yeah, John here is a very nice tool to do offline password cracking. Okay. So most of the tools are available on Kali. So I would suggest that you from information gathering to vulnerability analysis, web application analysis. Yeah. Now for the web application vulnerability scanning, which is actually related to vulnerability scanning, you can actually use a tool called, for example, Nikto. Yeah. Nikto host, then you can put like HTTP 192.168. Let's say 242.128, which is my target. Yeah. So this is a very simple, web application vulnerability scanning. Yeah. By using Nikto. Of course, if you want to get the commercial edition of the web application vulnerability scanning, you should get something like NetSparker or maybe like the Acunetics and so on and so forth. There are many other type of tools available. Okay, so there's a question about how many computer can use a 1 Pro license. Actually, one computer only. So for one license, one computer in one piece, one computer, and for 1 year. Yeah. Now, as I already mentioned, that we have the vulnerability scan. You can actually use different type of vulnerability scanners, such as Nessus, Nikto, and so on. And these tools are very, convenient to use. It will allow you to scan weak points in your wireless network, your web, your host, also test for configuration, for compliance base. By the way, this compliance is only available on Nessus Pro edition, yeah, rather than the free edition. The free edition does not have this compliance checking. And then there are 2 different type of scannings called credential scanning, yeah, which allows you to scan the systems that will allow the scanner to authenticate with the system it's scanning. So in credential scan, when you do credential scan, you will need to provide the username and password of the admin most commonly. Yeah, so that the scanner will authenticate with the system it's scanning, and it will give you more a more deeper what do you call this result. Yeah, it has elevated privileges to test all of the system configuration, and more intrusive, consume more resources. Be very careful on using credential scan. Yeah. Now, the second one is non-credential scan, also known as the anonymous scan. Scan for a normal user perspective. You don't need to put any username and password. You just scan it. I mean, scan the systems as anonymous user. Allow you to focus on most glaring flows that anyone can exploit. That's why they call it anonymous, because anyone can exploit. Less intrusive, consume less resources. Yeah. So in terms of the usage, credential scan is very good if you want to get more resources related to compliance and etc. While non-credential scan is good for just testing your what do you call this, your systems against some of the flows or vulnerabilities that anyone can exploit. Yeah. Of course, you will need to have the username and password of the admin or root to do credential scan. Yeah. Now, false positive. I believe that some of you are quite familiar with the false positive. Something incorrectly identified as vulnerability. Yeah. So, for example, here, port 5424 is open and may be used by malware. Yeah. Now, this might indicate something that could be on your system, or could not be, or may not be on your system. So you'll need to do validation on this. So for a false positive is just like false alarm. It was identified that it, but the condition may not be there. It may not actually gives you the actual thing. Yeah. So think about this one. You see the smoke, but there's no fire. Yeah. Maybe the smoke is coming from cigarettes. We don't know. Okay. Cigarettes is also has fire, but small one. Just joke. Yeah. Okay, so some guidelines for assessing vulnerabilities. You'll need to consider the operating system, the fault configuration, and then 0 days vulnerabilities, as well as other outdated, what do you call this, cyber suite or encryption, as well as other type of vulnerabilities. So make sure that you know what you're assessing and the expected result. It's not only about assessing vulnerabilities, but you need to know also the impacts of scanning those vulnerabilities, because scanning might also crash your system or even disturb the daily or production systems. Okay, so there's an activity here, but you can actually do it later on, capturing the data with Wireshark. All you need is Kali Linux and any other system that you have. Like you can set up 2 different VMs, one Kali and the other one is like Linux. Yeah. By the way, for the target, I would suggest that you download the target machine for your practices, or maybe for our next labs or hands-on labs. Just give me a minute. I will answer your question. So let me just give you. So if you would like to. Yeah, let me just close this. So if you would like to, to test or to do hands-on labs by your own, I would suggest that you download Kali from kali.org. Yeah, so you get the download version. Download the image of Kali. The latest one is 2020.1b. Yeah. The earlier version of the 2020 of Linux has problem, so they have uploaded the latest image. You can use torrent or download directly. Yeah. The second thing that you need is you need some virtual machines, other hosts that will be your target. You can actually download it from VulnHub. Like for example, in my exercise, or sorry, in my demonstration earlier, I was actually using several target machines. One of the target machines is this one. You can just select search and then type Metasploitable. Yeah, so you can download this Metasploitable. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, you can download Metasploitable 2. That will help you to, so this Kali will be your machine to do your assessment, and then Metasploitable 2 will be your target system or target operating system. Yeah. There's a question from Ian. How can I update my Kali? I would not suggest you to update your Kali 2020.1a. I did it earlier, previously, but the result was not good. So I would personally recommend you to download the latest one and get a clean install. Yeah. Do the clean installation of your Kali 2020.b. Yeah. Then there's a question about do I need to use VMware? Okay, so it's up to you. You can use VMware Workstation, or you can use the VirtualBox. VMware is not free. VirtualBox is free, so you can practice by using your VMware if you have the license. For free virtualization platform, you can use VirtualBox. Yeah. Me myself, I'm actually using VMware Workstation version 15.2 something. Yeah. Okay, so let me get back to our presentation. So you can do the testing here. The activity here, capturing network data. What you need is your Kali as well as, let's say, Metasploitable. You can do something like scanning, do the filtering, and so on and so forth. Just do whatever you like to do, and see if you can actually capture the network traffic by using Wireshark, or even like by using TCP dump. About the license, I would not suggest that you get the license from the internet. It's actually illegal, but yeah, the risk is yours. Okay, then next is penetration testing. As you know that penetration testing is one of the methods in terms of security assessment. So this is an active, this is a process of using active tools and techniques to evaluate security by simulating attack on those systems. Yeah. So it will allow you to verify that threat exists and exploit any vulnerabilities, less common and more intrusive than vulnerability assessment. Yeah. Information gleaned from pen test is more, more details. And then the risk of systems suffering actual damage, and tight restriction often placed on pen tests. Yeah. So for many organizations, they would like to use penetration testing to further validate the existence of vulnerabilities that were actually found in vulnerability assessment. Yeah. So vulnerability, think about this. Vulnerability assessment is just to verify whether you have the vulnerabilities or not, while the penetration testing is more about validating the existence of those vulnerabilities. Yeah, by exploiting them. Yeah, and techniques normally starts with the reconnaissance, then followed by initial exploitation. The reconnaissance is the process where the tester will get more information about the subject and craft their simulated attack, then followed by initial exploitation. After reconnaissance, like getting the credential, do the password cracking, as well as other types of access. Then phase 3, escalation of privilege. This could be like, vertical privilege escalation or horizontal privilege escalation. The idea is to get the higher level of control, the higher level of privileges to access the system. And then 4, this is actually phase 4 here is optional because we might need to explore other systems beyond our target. Yeah, so we need to do pivoting, which allows you to explore the network segments and find other hosts.
Bị mua xong em.
Okay, so then the last phase would be persistence, which is normally to maintain the access to the network or to the system being accessed, and evaluate ease of gaining a covert foothold on the network. Now, by the way, we'll be discussing about penetration testing, the stages in our next course, which is Pentest Plus. Yeah, so you can expect that I will explain more about penetration testing techniques in our next lesson, which is in penetration testing plus or Pentest Plus. Yeah. And for the methods, you can start with the black box test. You need a full reconnaissance because you don't know anything. So you need to get some and as many information as you need. And then gray box test, meaning that you will be given some very limited information. Then you can move to the white box test. Please do the chatting on our Telegram. Yeah? Please do the chatting on Telegram. Yeah. Do not chat here in our Zoom. Yeah. So start with the black box followed by gray box because you need to have full and even some reconnaissance. Information will be given very limited, and for the white box, you may not need to do reconnaissance because everything will be given to you. Yeah. So for example, when you do static code analysis or source code analysis is considered to be white box because you will be given the source code. While when you do like very deep reconnaissance, that would be I would say assumed to be the black box test because you will need to find a lot of information before being able to access the system. Yeah. Okay, then tools. Yeah, you can find these tools in Kali on Kali. Yeah, you can find like exploitation framework. We are using, let's say, like Metasploit framework, MSF console. Yeah, and then we have like data sanitation tool, which allows you to securely erase data from storage mediums, steganography tool that will allow you to hide the data to avoid detection. You can also use like social engineering tool that will allow you to, customize your social engineering attacks, and other tools like stress tester that will allow you to test your system's ability. Before we finish the letter, because I have only like one more slide, let me just give you a short of demo. Yeah. So in Kali, you can actually use Metasploit. Yeah, you can just use like this one, MSF console. Yeah. So yeah, I think I have a problem with my MSF console, so I won't be able to show it to you. So anyway, so MSF console is our Metasploit. So I need to fix this first before I can actually show it to you. So let me show you here. So we are actually using Metasploit. Yeah, and you can actually find more information about Metasploit from this website, offensive security, offensive-security.com/metasploit-unleash. This is applicable to our Metasploit framework. So there are actually 3 different types of Metasploit, what do you call these, versions, yeah? So we have the Metasploit framework, yeah? So the Metasploit framework, if you go to download your Metasploit, you can find the free version of the Metasploit, which is the open source here, Metasploit framework. It's free. No GUI, yeah, no graphical user interface. You have to use the commands. And then if you want to buy the commercial edition, or if you want to get this commercial edition of Metasploit framework, they name it as Metasploit Pro. Yeah. I believe that long time ago, they also came out with Metasploit Express, which has, which cost us, which cost $3,000 US, while the Metasploit Pro would cost you around 14 to 15,000 US dollar. Yeah, 15 grand. Yeah. For beginners, I would recommend you to use this Metasploit framework. Yeah, and get more lessons about how to actually use this Metasploit by visiting and studying from this website. Remember the Metasploit Unleash, that will teach you a lot of things here. Yeah. So it's like an online hacking course by utilizing Metasploit. Okay, so go ahead, do your own testing, because on our next lesson, we'll be discussing, or we'll be talking about Pentest Plus, and definitely you'll need to use the Metasploit. Yeah. Okay. So the last part here is, yeah, the guidelines for implementing penetration testing. So consider conducting a penetration testing in addition to or instead of vulnerability assessment. But sometimes we do both. Yeah. So we start with vulnerability assessment, do the scanning, then followed by penetration testing, because penetration testing is to validate the existence of vulnerability you found. Yeah. Just give me a minute. I will tell you about the document for the report. I have the book. Yeah, Miss Raymond Paul S. Fontalina. Yeah, yeah. I have the book that was written in 2014, but the book is not about writing pen testing technical report. The book is more on writing executive penetration testing report. Yeah. If you need, you can actually ask me. I will give you the link to download. Yeah. But anyway, let me just finish this one. Let me conclude this. So be aware of the risks involved in conducting pen tests, because you will be doing, intrusive what do you call this, attacks. So it might crash the systems of your targets. So please be careful, and if you're doing it for your clients, please coordinate with your client before you're actually doing it. Prior to doing the pen tests or exploitation specifically. Consider implementing pen test techniques as different phases in simulated attack. For the internal pen tests, you can actually do it as part of the red team simulation. And then consider conducting pen tests using different type of box testing types of testing method. Yeah. For example, you can use the black box, gray box, as well as the white box. You need to understand the difference between one reconnaissance with other reconnaissance requirements, specifically for black box, gray box, and white box testing methods. And make sure that you're familiar with different tools used in active exploitation. By the way, again, I repeat, we will discuss penetration testing in our next lesson, which is related to Pentest Plus. Yep. So don't worry, you will be, I would say, invited as well to the our next lesson. Yeah, so we're starting from Security Plus, then move to, let's say, the intermediate class like pen testing as well as the CISA, so they do that you can get complete set of knowledge. Yeah. All right, so I think this is the end of my presentation. So we have the activity implementing penetration testing. Okay, again, if you want to do some practice or practices, hands-on lab, download and install Kali Linux by utilizing VirtualBox or VMware Workstation. Plus, of course, you need to have target machines. Yeah, like you can download from VulnHub, you can download Metasploitable, and other type of target machines. All right, so yeah, so let me see. If anyone needs, I will give you my book, the link to download my book. And then for the, yeah, there's a question about for practice. Yeah, go to vulnhub.com, download whatever machine you like. And yeah, you can do some experiments or exploration on using different tools. Yeah, so I would recommend to download Kali Linux plus, for example, Metasploitable as a start of your exploration. Yeah, before even we start with the pen testing or pen test plus course. All right, thank you guys. It's really nice to have you today. Thank you, and hope you enjoyed the class. And if you have any question, let's do the discussion in our Telegram group. Okay. The next session will be perhaps Friday. Yeah. So I'll be giving you the link to invite you to attend our next session. Thank you very much. You guys are great. See you next time.